when you're starting your ones,
Mm.
do you find this bit difficult?
It's just a bit weird, man. Yeah,
Because we're chatting, and then you go, oh, all right, Liam, I haven't seen you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of falsely put on, isn't it?
Yeah, I've kind of started doing this bit on purpose so that people know it's not just, so it doesn't feel as weird just getting into it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I'm all about that, and then it just kind of like stops. There's some silence. It's like, oh, hey, how you doing?
Yeah. So I thought I'll just chop that bit out, and I'm just gonna start asking people if they think it's weird, and then we're already chatting.
Yeah, there we go. It is rather odd. It is strange.
Yeah.
But we got it rolling. Happy days.
Yeah. Like I said, we're into it now anyway. So for everyone listening, Liam Cowley, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
And obviously, I know you're from Profit and everything, but for everyone listening, give us a bit of a background on you, what you're up to, what you've been up to, and what you do generally.
Me, well, for me, I've always had a huge passion on nutrition, and obviously that leads nicely into fitness and health. Like, when I was at school and everything else, I was always obsessed with kind of like the best diet, back in the day. No one could really kind of give me that answer, so it led me to do a lot of my own research. And from there, it was just, the more, I can't remember the name of the term, but it's kind of like you start off knowing nothing, you get to that point where you think you know everything, and then there's that big dip when you realize that you actually don't know anything. So it's just been this constant pursuit of kind of learning all about nutrition, and then realizing that, like, I also do a lot of the personal training and nutrition coaching. That's the area that I mainly focus on with clients, because, not everyone knows what to do in the gym, but everyone gets really confused with the other 23 hours and what to do with that stuff. So that's kind of my focus going forward.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So obviously, like you said, they're focusing on the nutrition side of things. And I don't know where I read it because I couldn't find it before. Did you say that you're focusing more on obesity and like some kind of specialization in that area, or did I read that wrong?
No, not at all. I love working with people like that, and it's only a growing area. Like, there's the obesity and the diabetes side of things, and I've kind of positioned myself where I get referred a lot of the diabetics and people who are particularly obese, just because so much of that is from a nutrition standpoint, and understanding that you can really supplement your weight loss with a lot of the activity, but when someone's that obese, it's like, well, the activity is going to be through the floor. They can do the absolute bare minimum. It's very, very difficult, but it's then coaching them that they can still have, as crazy as it sounds, a little bit of what they fancy and still get a result. Because the idea of someone going, quote unquote, cold turkey is just, to them, is ludicrous, because that's so opposite of what they've been doing currently. But yeah, that's a huge one for it. And for me as well, I'm not one to do the whole 12-week program, let's get their abs out and tanned up and everything else. It's like, I want a lifestyle change, and I want someone to, I feel that's way more empowering than kind of saying, you're on the plan, you're off the plan. It's like, let me teach you how to do it. Yeah. And, you can maybe get up, get about, and potentially even change your life, rather than just look good on a beach for a little bit. You know what I mean? Yeah. If that's your thing, fair enough, but that's not my thing. So
yeah, I'm exactly the same. Like, I don't there's obviously a lot of trainers in like the company we worked with and everything, and their whole thing is your 12-week programs, your prep, your competitions and stuff. And again, for me, it's just like nobody really wants that. Yeah. Like, there's a small percentage who want to get on a stage or really want to be ripped, and I think a lot of the time people kind of maybe think they're supposed to want that, so they say that's what they want, but then really you don't. Most people just want to feel good day to day, and beyond that, if you've got a holiday coming up, you might trim down an extra little bit, but I think a lot of the time people realize even then, once you get to the holiday, you're not that bothered, because if you've learned how to be consistently, like, on average in shape, as a simple term, like, you're not that bothered about then getting abs for Portugal or whatever's coming up. Do you know what I mean? Because you're like, nah, I just want to go to the beach.
Well, I don't understand the. Well, 2 points on that. Number one, I don't understand what abs is giving you. It's not.
Yeah.
Like you say, you might think that it's what you want, but there's something else there that's presenting as. And then when you get that lean or whatever it is, you're like, oh right, well, I'm not fulfilled or complete as a person. I'm just the same guy, just slightly leaner. And the other part on that is like one of the most rewarding things with what I do is taking someone who, like I had a woman who told me that she absolutely categorically could not lose weight. She was on shake diets and stuff like that. And it was like her battle against weight loss, was like ruling her life. And you get someone like that and you go a little bit off the beaten track and you're like, right, I'm going to have to coach this person a little bit different.
Yeah.
When they get a result, and like I told her that to eat a potato and she damn near burst into tears. That's how like messed up her approach to food was.
Yeah.
When I got her a result and like empowered her to do it herself, that to me is like, oh yeah, that's awesome. That made me feel great. If I'm being brutally honest, I'd be a bit bored. I know the numbers, I know the figures, and if I said, here's your calories, here's your macros, stick to that, and I had 15, 16 people who just stuck to those numbers, be a bit like, well, this isn't really challenging. Do you know what I mean? If I'm just going into a calculator, going, right, eat 2,800 calories, here's your protein, do some squats. That for me is just not it. I like the challenge of having to get behind enemy lines and figure out how we can figure out for them what makes sense. Apply basic principles.
In a way, what you said there about what you'd kind of hate, like if it was the situation that you just said to everyone, aim for X amount of calories, that's about it. That would be kind of alluding to, what you said when you were in school. You were thinking, what's the best diet? What does everyone have to do, like, to just fix things? Obviously, like, through our experience, and you got to try and get this across to people, is you realize that there's no such thing as that. Like, there's no such thing as that best diet, As an example, I said, here's X amount of calories, do that. The one most people end up with is 1,200, isn't it?
Yeah.
How many people do you see saying, I did a bit of digging to try and find out where it came from, because it is so prevalent. Like, like say, you and I straight away can think of people we've seen online or in person saying, I'm aiming for 1,200 calories, but I'm really hungry, or I'm aiming for 1,200 calories, but I'm really tired, and all this stuff. And you just think, why are you aiming for 1,200? Like, how has everyone got to that? It's so strange. And it's quite interesting, actually. I think where it comes from is, the recommended minimum intake for women is 1,200.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it starts. Because then I think a lot of coaches and PTs and even nutrition coaches, even dietitians, I've seen people say, have told me that this is what's been the case. Just say, oh, you want to lose weight, aim for 1,200 calories, you'll lose weight. And it's basically, I think those people are just being lazy. Because like you said, in the way that you can just go boom, 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 here's the calories, crack on. Even easier than that is for someone to say 1,200 will do you. Because at the end of the day, you will definitely be in a calorie deficit if you're only on 1,200, so you will lose weight. But obviously, that's not taking into account how you'll feel and everything.
It's lazy coaching, and I use the term lazy coaching with kind of like air quotations, because I have this debate with people all the time. Like, you're not coaching someone, you're prescribing them, and when you prescribe someone like a medication, the rule of thumb is you take these 2 pills a day, and that's it. And if you're not taking the pills, we'll take the damn pills. It's as simple as that. If it's the 1,200 and you're not sticking to your 1,200, it's like, well, just stick to your 1,200. And you're not taking someone through this process. That's what it's about. And when you said then it's about, knowing the 1,200 and all these different things, I always say, when I first started, I thought it was an information issue, which to a degree it is. People just need the information and then they'll just do it. But I always say, you don't pay me for information, you pay me for implementation, because I take where you're at and put it into practice for you. And that implementation is the huge part. It's like, you probably know what you should or shouldn't be doing, roughly. But you just don't know how to go about actually doing it. And this is why that's the bit I get a bit of a kick out of, because it's like, even when you explain to people, and it's so obvious, right? In order to facilitate weight loss, you need to be consuming less than you're burning.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, cool. Anything from there now is a case of how confident are you that you can do it, and we'll work on it from there.
Yeah.
But that's the one kind of unchangeable bedrock that you move forward from.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's difficult, isn't it, when people have, like, they've read a book or they've started following someone in particular who's like that into keto or fasting or something, and then they get hooked on that idea that, oh no, weight loss happens because of insulin, or weight loss happens because of ketones and carbs, and you're like, nah, those things are just helping you to achieve, like you said, the bedrock of the energy in and out. And like I've been doing a lot recently to try and get across to people that this is like level one. All these other things are just the things that make that happen.
Yeah, it's a good point.
So like trying to tell people, like, this idea you've got of like keto and carbs or fasting and insulin, whatever, it's correct, but it's not everything. It's not the whole. It's part of the solution. It's not the solution. Do you know what I mean? Just try and expand that into the other bit, so they go, oh right, okay, yeah. Rather than being like having one person on one side going, it's all about insulin, the other one's going, it's all about ketones, and then you're just there in the middle, like, it's both. It can be both. It can be one or the other.
Well, it's an annoying position to be in, because it's very difficult to appear like educated and confident when the answer is always it depends. So it's like, should I be eating breakfast? And you get someone who's doing fasting, or just go, categorically not, because of, all these different things and your fasting window. And you get someone like me who goes, well, I need a little bit more information on that. And they're like, oh, well, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And it's well, it does depend, but, and with that, it's tough, because you're right. There's that many conflicting things, but if you believe in one thing strong enough, you come across really confident. And that puts us as a bit of a weird position, because you're like, well, I need more info. That's how it goes down.
It's like, I think it was a tweet you liked today, the one from James Smith, where he said, it was something like, do you remember a time when you could just skip a meal and not tell someone about it, and it not be counted as fasting and the only way your mates can lose weight? It's like,
Them were the days, right?
I know. Imagine when you could just skip breakfast and it was just like skipping breakfast. It wasn't fasting. Man.
Well, this is the issue with labeling as well. So
if
you label, like the vegan January things going on and everything else, and like fasting's a great example. If you say, right, I'm fasting, then that means that there's some very definitive rules that you follow. Oh, I'm doing keto, I'm just not going to eat carbs. Not enough people look at these approaches and go, oh, okay, what are aspects of that I can apply to myself? Like I have a client who's a surgeon, and she might be in theatre for like 10 hours at a time. And she says that when she eats breakfast, she's really hungry. And, she eats breakfast, she needs to eat within a couple of hours. So I was like, right, okay, well, how about you don't have breakfast, go through, a period of time where you physically can't eat. And then on the other end, maybe, hopefully not the full 10 hours. And then on the other end, you can eat then. So technically, yes, she is fasting, but then on her days off work, she's not in theatre, she does something different. And not enough people pick and choose little bits and go, oh, that makes sense to me, rather than just going, I am through and through keto. Do you know what I mean? That's something that people definitely need to put in place. Realizing that just because Susan's doing it, it's not going to work for you. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's a bit different.
Well, it's kind of like that example of a common question people have is, I'm going to the gym in the morning, should I have my breakfast? Assuming they're having breakfast if they're not fasting. Should I have my breakfast before I go to the gym or after? And obviously, as you've just said there, the answer is it depends. But the reasoning is it depends. Do you feel sick if you eat before you train? Or do you feel lightheaded if you don't eat before you train? That kind of thing. Do you feel like you're not as good in the gym if you haven't eaten? And it's just like you say, it doesn't matter. Like there's no, there probably will be some kind of camp at some point that says you have to eat breakfast before you train every single day. And then there'll be the other one saying, no, you got to eat breakfast after you've had your training or your workout. They'll fight. And then we'll be having this conversation and be like, do you remember that time we were talking about this happening? And then people will think, well, like The Simpsons.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like that. It's like what you've said there is that example, but just to the extreme. Like you can eat breakfast whenever you want. You can eat or not eat breakfast. It just depends on what's best for you. Like do both and find out.
That's it. Not enough people are willing to experiment with it, and it's I'd love to start coming to the gym in the morning, get it done before work. Why don't you try it out? You might absolutely suck at getting out of bed in the morning. I'm one of these people. I get out of bed really easy. I'm an annoying morning person, but then it gets past like 9:30 and I'm like, yeah, I need to get to sleep. And if I start training 5 p.m. rather than 6 a.m., my strength goes through the floor. But it's only through that experimentation for me personally that works. But I don't then turn around and say, you shouldn't train in the afternoon. Do you know what I mean? It's too many people find what works for them and go, this must be what works for the masses, because it's N=1 situation, isn't it?
Something you mentioned before that made me write something down. You know when you were saying you got the whole like the veganuary thing going on. And I can't remember what we were talking about when you said that specifically, but it made me think of something. I think it might have been Jim posted maybe today, maybe yesterday, I think, and it said on his tweet, I've been trying to get people to eat more plant-based since I became a PT. But no, I'm not trying to turn people vegan. It's just good to be veg.
Yeah.
You know, and like again, it's one of them things. Like you can eat more veg. You can technically be plant-based. Like I probably am. You probably are. In the way that we just generally eat. You probably eat more plants than meat on your plate. But that doesn't mean you have to become vegan.
Yeah.
You know, eating veg is fine. Just do a bit more of that. You know, you don't have to go to the end.
It's almost biting your tongue in it, because you turn around to someone and go, eat more veg, eat more veg, eat more veg. Oh, I just can't quite do it. Then to do something crazy like vegan January, and they're counting down the days to get to a point where they can start eating some meat again and have cheese. And you get to the end of that January and you go, all right, so maybe there's some aspects of this that have worked really well. You know, you've got quite into your veg, so we'll leave that in. They go, yeah, I'll leave my veg in. Right, God, I've been saying this for months. But fair enough. You know, like same with dry January and, you know, Stoptober and stuff. People sometimes need to go to an extreme to realize that they can do it. You're like, oh, do you know, I went out with some friends and I didn't drink any alcohol and I had a good time. I'm like, yes, it's possible. I've been saying this, but you need to experience it, right?
And in a similar way, something I saw from Jordan Syatt, a tweet on that. He was saying about people asking, should I do keto? And I've been a victim myself of saying probably not, because if you like carbs, you're going to want to eat the carbs, so just don't even bother. Do you know what I mean? But like you said, with the person who says, oh, I couldn't get up and train in the morning, you'd kind of say, well, how do you know until you try it? That's the kind of thing Jordan was saying with people doing keto. Like, I'm not personally a fan, but you know what? Even if you really enjoy carbs, maybe you should do it just to find out for yourself that you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Like you said, experiment with yourself. You know, if it's 4 weeks, you probably deliberate over the decision for 4 weeks half the time.
That's a good point.
Just do it and then find out, actually, no, I'm definitely not doing keto. What else can I do? You know?
It is an interesting one, and it's just, you know, I don't think there's enough people nowadays that are willing to, you know, look at something new, like new data might come out, or, you know, there was a big thing that fasted cardio ages ago. I'm sure you saw it as well. Like, that burns more fat, and it seemed to be that the data supported it. And then obviously the study came out where it kind of said, well, it's pretty much exactly the same. You know, you do burn more fat around about the time and less in the other part of the day, and then the inverse is true. Too many people aren't willing to look at these kind of things and go, oh, okay, you know, how does that apply to me? They just either go, that supports my statement, I'm going to, you know, sing off the rooftops about it, or I'm going to try and discredit it because it's saying that I should probably eat more meat and I'm a vegan, you know, and it's sad to see, because it's like, how you could be helping more people, you could be helping yourself, just not willing to open your eyes to it and deviate from your camp, as it were. Annoyingly.
So in your, I'm going to want to get into sort of like the specific kind of work you do then with people with like who are like obviously have really high BMI and stuff, diabetes and that, like you said. But just before we get into kind of how you would approach things with them, I think sort of a way into it is with something you briefly mentioned before. You know, the lady you said you told her eat a potato, and she kind of had a meltdown. Is that because she'd been convinced that eating, like drinking shakes, was the way she was going to lose weight, and therefore she kind of had that thought around food that food itself was a problem? Is that what was going on there?
Yeah, hugely. I mean, she'd kind of gone for a kind of like stop point where she started introducing, she was doing conventional dieting, and then she went to a stop point where she kind of put in a couple of Herbalife shakes, and then slowly reduced her food down, and then into full blown like Lighter Life, which is basically like 2 shakes, and then you get like a little meal replacement bar that's about 210 calories. So it's shake, meal replacement bar, shake. And what she was in a cycle of is trying to stick to that. It wasn't doable. So you do a couple of weeks, feel dreadful, have a massive blowout, and it was just that yo-yo effect. And then she just got terrified because you can lose a lot of weight on Lighter Life. Weight on the scale goes through the floor. You feel dreadful. It's not healthy at all.
Yeah, of course.
She was practically a zombie. This is all before she started seeing me, by the way. I wasn't just stood there watching her. And all of this was going on. And then she created this connotation of, when I do eat, I binge. Therefore, food's bad. And food is what's slowing my weight loss and what's causing me to feel dreadful. Never mind the fact that it was pizza and dessert and everything, so no wonder she felt dreadful. And we came back to a point where it's like, we need to start pushing your food up and creating something a little bit more sustainable. And I just said to her, I was like, carbohydrates aren't the enemy. What kind of carbohydrates do you particularly miss? You're now training with me. Your energy demand has gone through the roof. And not only that, but she now has enough energy to actually get out and go to the gym. So I said, we need to make sure you're getting enough in. And she said, I just really miss jacket potatoes. I was like, I want you to, at some point during this week, eat a jacket potato. And you could see she was getting really het up with it. And man, there's companies making money, and you see these short-term results, but it's then pinned on the individual of, I need more willpower. I just need more willpower to stick to it. And you're like, no, you probably need a different plan. But that's again, that element of coaching goes back to the thing I was saying before. A lot of people would just turn around and go, well, just get back on the plan, because they haven't worked in that coaching environment, rather than, just going, well, stick to your calories. But that's where she was at, and it's an all too common place nowadays, unfortunately. And it does, only too well, it's unsustainable. It will either cause you to yo-yo up or down, or just continue getting bigger because you binge out, and then you think, well, what's the point? And then you go, oh, well, that worked last time. I'll go back to it. And it's this crazy cycle that people get stuck in, which is really sad to see, because it's not, people just become zonked out like zombies,
Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah. And so, like, how is she, this sounds like a mad question, like, to come out of someone's mouth, but how does she feel about eating potatoes now?
Now she's literally at a point where she's very loosely tracking things. So she's tracking a protein, and then she's kind of hitting a calorie target because she's really, really active. I mean, we are a bit further on now. It wasn't a case that she ate one potato and then it was turned around. Like, she's in a really, really place, and she kind of gets it. One of the big things for her was that she managed to relax a little bit, not as much as I would have liked, but relax a little bit into Christmas. Whereas before it would have been a case of, well, I'm not having the Sunday dinner. I've had people ask me before, what should I eat on Christmas Day? And it's like, well, I intend on eating a cheesecake. So, but yeah, she's in a really good place. It's just that takes a lot of time, and you might make 1 or 2% increment per session, if that. And it's just that compounded over time, because it's taken them a long time to dig themselves into that hole. It's going to take you a long time to kind of like handhold them back out of it.
And that's the thing I wanted to highlight by getting into this is the fact that mental progress, that outlook, that perspective shift is so important. And because the progress in that area is what like facilitates and allows the progress everywhere else to fall into place. And I just wanted to, like I say, point that out and kind of showcase how important that is, because it's hard to measure. It's hard to measure how mentally far you've come.
I think I always say to people, I'm like, I'm going to need you, like, no matter what I say, and I can throw statistics, stats, the years that I've been doing it, can show you testimonials, but I need you to take that leap of faith with me.
Yeah.
And when you almost need to show them that it's going to happen, because you can tell them, and it's no good you turning around when it's happened and going, ha ha ha, I told you.
Yeah.
It's like, do you see what's going on here? And she was shocked, like the first time she jumped on the scale. 'Cause she's all about the weight. I just wanted to do measurements, but she jumps on the scale and I was sat there crossing my fingers, and the weight was exactly the same. And I'm like, shit, this is not what we need.
Yeah.
But every single one of her measurements went down dramatically, and I'm like,
Yeah.
boo. And you get the buy-in from that person. Then it's if you're willing to have the conversations and you're willing to take it slow rather than saying, a lot of the marketing now is lose a dress size in however long, like the old Special K thing. It's like, I don't know how long this is going to take. I genuinely don't. And I know it's going to be a time commitment. But you take that leap of faith with me, and there's no way we can fail if we're tracking it and adapting it.
Yeah.
So nowadays, I think it's more about showing people rather than promising people, because we can't do that. If you've got someone who's got such a mental barrier there, like you were saying, that's just going to stop everything else. You can have the best systems in the world, but if you haven't got that coaching ability, that's not going to remove those breaks, as Robbins and stuff like that says.
Like we said before, then obviously everybody's approach needs to be different. There's no one size fits all, as everybody really knows when we get down to it. And so how, like, when someone new comes into you and they've got, maybe it's obesity, maybe it's diabetes, maybe it's anything on that spectrum between the two from whatever situation. How would you help them find their first step?
So with that, obviously, the systems remain, like, I've Liamized, if that's the right word, kind of the systems that we used to use with Profit. So obviously you've got initial consultation, get into kind of what they're wanting, why they want it, why is it important to them, all those kind of things. And I get, like, obviously, if we're going from like a purely health and nutrition standpoint, we've got the health and lifestyle questionnaire to make sure that there's any medical issues, conditions, injuries, stuff like that, medication, and a food diary. But I kind of teach people how to properly do a food diary. It's not a food recall, which is like, tell me what you've eaten in the last 24 hours. It's an actual, get yourself into the habit of, either it's on your phone or it's on a notepad that doesn't leave your side. Write it down as it's eaten. You'll be surprised how different that is to telling me what you had, in the last 24 hours. So kind of teach people how to. It sounds stupid. It's like, write down what you eat, but they're typically 40% inaccurate. As a general food diary, so kind of show people how to do that. I get that back off them and review it and kind of get a very good idea of where I'd want it to go. And then it's more a case of we sit down and put in a steps. Like, I take them through a consultation of, what diets have you done in the past? What were good and bad parts of this approach? Is your weight up, down, or indifferent? Do you have any cravings, low energy? I'm trying to think of all the questions now. Like, even family and partner considerations, because it's all good and well looking at that individual. Work and shift patterns. Well, a big thing that I've done now is kind of like I don't give meal plans, because I don't believe we should be giving meal plans. But if you sit down with someone and say, right, at the back end of this consultation, here's a blank template, Monday through Sunday. How about we write down what an early shift looks like, what a mid shift looks like, what a night shift looks like, a day off during the week and a weekend. Because all those days for me are going to be completely different. Like, I work very similar, but if I was to work, when I used to run a restaurant, earlies I'd eat different to lates. Days off during the week, like today was a day off for me, so I'm going to eat differently than what I would at a work day. And weekends I tend to free-ball it. So if you get people structure that way, and I try and get people to lean towards a more habit-based approach. So it's, once we've got all those kind of questions in place, the first thing I say is, I want to put in rather than taking out. So if I give you all the good stuff, because, not to use the terminology, but if I give you all the good stuff, which is always protein, hydration, veg/fiber, and healthy fats, you're not going to want as much of the quote unquote bad stuff. And It's a funny one because with the first thing people say when you start talking about nutrition, I'm sure you've noticed this as well. You ask them about nutrition, they tell you what they don't eat. Oh, I don't eat chocolate. I don't eat crisps. I'm like,
Yeah,
great.
yeah,
I don't care about that. I care about what you do eat.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and I always say to people, I'm like, I have a vision of, I'm trying to think of how I can display this on an audio platform. Like we're moving from left to right, when in reality we might go from left to right and then decide we're going to go up because that's not working. There needs to be that constant communication, and
yeah,
with it, I'm trying to think of how I can explain this because there's no definitive answer. Like I've had someone who's 38 stone where the only action was swap out your 6 liters of full sugar Coke a day
yeah,
to Pepsi Max. Do you know what I mean? And then
yeah,
there's other
yeah,
people who a bit more of an overhaul, but from the food diet and the routine, you get a very good idea of what the structure should look like, and then it becomes a confidence game. So where are they at with how confident, like a readiness for change?
yeah,
How ready are they for some kind of change, and what are they willing to do? Um, One of the last questions on there is a reduce over remove. I think that's quite important as well. So, is there anything that you feel like we need to reduce down rather than take out completely? Because as soon as we take it out, it becomes taboo, and you've got that
yeah,
red button syndrome. And from there, I just say to people, I'm like, if you come into a training session and we're down to do session 3, and your nutrition's all over the place, then we'll sit down and we'll tackle that first.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I need to know that you're confident in this area. And even if you give them like a habit-based approach, I remember a woman who was just like, her readiness for change was that low that I said to her, I was like, I want you to start eating breakfast. I don't care what the breakfast is. She wasn't working at the time, so she had all the time in the world. I was like, I want you to eat a breakfast. I don't care what that breakfast is, and then drink an additional 500 milliliters of water.
yeah,
Because she actually used the term nutrition doesn't work for me, and I'm like, well, yes, it does. You're a human,
yeah,
and all I was looking to do there was to build confidence in her own ability. She came back and it was like, instead of saying, have you stuck to your diet, which is a really loaded question, it could mean anything. It was like, have you managed to drink that water and eat your breakfast? Yeah, I have actually. And you could almost see this little spark in her going, I actually did something good.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you're like,
I can do
it's really,
things.
really, yeah, I can do things, which is crazy.
Yeah,
And bits and bats like that, because the kind of people I'm working with, it's, I think if a lot of people were to look at it and like the prep coaches were to look at it, they'd go, well, that's not going to get my result. It's like, well, no, it's not going to get my result in a week or
yeah,
2 weeks or 4 weeks. But once you build them up to a point, like I turned around to one of my clients recently and said, can you see yourself doing what you're doing right now for the rest of your life with regards to your nutrition? And she was like, well, yeah, I've barely changed anything. And I was like, well, this was your first food diary and it was
yeah,
completely different, but you've changed one thing a week, maybe, or one thing every
yeah,
two
yeah,
weeks. And before she knows it, everything's different, but she hasn't even recognized it.
yeah.
So I don't know if that answers your question because it's quite broad, but I just thought I'd give a couple of examples of where it could end up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like obviously you said, like how do you help someone find their first step? And I guess through what you've said there, it's just kind of showing that everyone's various steps
Mm.
will be different. I think we gave some examples of, drink an extra 500 milliliters of water. Like you might not think that sounds like a lot. You might not think that's going to change everything, but that, in addition to having 2 fewer Mars bars, in addition to a few weeks later having an extra vegetable every day, in addition to blah blah blah, like those little things obviously add up. And something I wanted to highlight that you mentioned as well, which I think is a really good point. The guy or the girl, I can't remember, that went from having 6 liters of Coke to
Yeah.
6 liters of Pepsi Max. Like someone might see the Pepsi Max part and say, oh, geez, this guy's drinking 6 liters of Pepsi Max. Like,
Mm.
he's got to sort that out if he wants to get anywhere. But he's gone from drinking 6 liters of full sugar Coke.
Yeah.
And so the Pepsi Max, it doesn't have to be the like ideal jump from 6 liters of Coke to 6 liters of water, because so the halfway jump will still make a massive difference. I
That's
think that's a
it.
really good thing to point out. Like it
With
doesn't have to
someone like
go
him,
from 1 to 0. It can be 0.5.
with someone like him as well, he'd worked with someone previous, not someone I knew, and he was in that much pain that he just, he stuck to, the other guy recommended a keto diet and he stuck to it, and he was getting results, but he just hated it, and it was never going to stick, and something like that got quite a bit of weight off him because he'd cutting out 6 liters of sugar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's funny because people will look at that and go, that's crazy, and you're like, but if he's getting a result and he's closer today than he was last week, great. Like, I'm cool with it. I've got time. I always say this to people. It's like, could I do 2 months? And a lot of the time I'm like, not really. If you want to, there's plenty of other people who'll take you on if that's their thing. But I need time with you, because depending on where we're at, you might not get, a massive result for 4 or 5 months, but you're going to get a result that you'll keep for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And it's having that confidence to turn around and go, yeah, okay, this is going to take time, and I don't really know how long. I think it was Jordan Syatt again. It might have been Jordan Syatt who was saying about how he doesn't like to add a time scale to a lot of his goals, because he's like, I might get there quicker and I might make loads of progress towards it and just not get there in time and then beat myself up and be really upset, not realize the progress that I've made and things like that. So there's a time and a place for it, but you're absolutely right. It's progress over perfection, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a huge part of it.
Yeah, that's good, man. What was the other thing I was going to get into, I wanted to ask about? Oh, yeah. So, how long have you been a coach for now?
It's 6 years in March now. So,
6 years, yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I know, like, mine's 7 in October, I think, which is wild. Like, that's just really strange. But yeah, obviously 6 years ago, you were maybe at that point where you were still looking for that best diet. And so, did you start your coaching with ProFit and it's been that way since, or is it
so
coaching in some other way first?
No, I did tons of experimentation on myself, but didn't go anywhere near anyone else until I hit ProFit. And, it was through Sarah Langdale. She's one of the Wakefield trainers. And she used to be the PT and fitness instructor at the gym I used to train at. And we just got started chatting about various bits and bats. She mentioned she went to go see Ben Coomber. I was like, oh, I love Ben Coomber. She says, oh, yeah, they did it through ProFit. What's ProFit? She put my name forward.
Yeah.
It went through from there. But, yeah, I did very much start out. I said, a lot of people now, because I'm one of the higher level trainers, they're all thinking, I need my niche. And I went in from day one going, I want my niche to be nutrition. But yeah, I was there and I was thinking, right, well, these guys will know then what the best diet is. I was still naive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I wanted to ask about it was, like, how do you think your approach and I guess overall, like, your outlook has changed since like day one of ProFit? Because I know, like, even what ProFit used to recommend has changed over the years as we've sort of gathered more information and more experience. So, like, how would you have sort of treated the clients you have now on day one, and like, how's that changed?
So when I first started, the nutrition recommendations was like, I think there was about 4 different kind of plans, and it wasn't like a set plan. It was almost like a shopping list of things that you can have, and then an example week. And my nutrition consultation was, you get your food diary back, and it's almost like that food diary is then kind of a flow chart into one of 4 of these approaches. And I don't know if you remember, there was that whole like detox plan, which was like an elimination style.
Yeah.
And it was really weird because, yes, if people stuck to it, you get the wild card where it just suits them really, really well.
Yeah.
And they stick to it, great, fantastic. But then you're choosing almost like the best of a bad bunch, or like you're not choosing the best option, you're choosing the one that's going to cause the least amount of damage, if that makes sense. And with that, you're kind of going, right, okay, well, you don't eat too many carbs, so maybe you should be doing this. And I found it very, very difficult to kind of coach people. I found that my only recommendation was, well, have you thought about getting back on it? I can't really struggle with nutrition.
Mine was the same.
It was very much a quite low carb, and then you reintroduce carbs over time. It's kind of where the industry was at the point.
Yeah.
And, it was like, well, if you consider getting back on it. And I just thought, I was like, I need to be doing more for this. And then obviously, I work quite a bit with Adam Cummins now, and you will have worked with him loads, won't you? That guy's just a genius when it comes to nutrition, and me and him have put quite a few bits together about just actually coaching people through it. But yeah, when I started, I was doing the same thing, and then even as a trainer, on weekends you were going away, and you might take your girlfriend out or something, and you're thinking, oh man, well there's nothing really paleo here.
Yeah.
You feel bad because you're like, I genuinely believe in what I'm putting forward, and this is kind of where the industry's at. Everyone's telling me this is the way it is, and I'm telling clients to do it this way, and I'm having fudge brownies on the weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a really strange place to be in, man.
Yeah. Like you say, that at the time when we both started, the industry, and so then as a result us, were in that quite carb phobic place, which unfortunately I think a lot of people are still stuck into, hence keto. But yeah, and then I realized the same as you over time. It was like, I'm saying to my clients, oh, do that detox plan and cut all your carbs out basically, and then we'll try and reintroduce them. And I found it really hard because a lot of clients were then got that idea, that mindset that they couldn't have carbs because when they cut them out, they lost the weight.
Yeah.
And so then whenever they bring them back in now, they put weight back on. And obviously I knew that as well based on what I could see, but I didn't understand at the time that was just because your carbs hold water.
Yeah.
So that's why, so I was like, oh, maybe you're right because you did put weight back on when we brought carbs back in. And I was like, but I know carbs aren't a problem because, like you just said, I'll have a cheesecake on the weekend at some point. Not a full cheesecake, but like I have carbs every day. I'm eating rice every day, like in my food boxes, and I'm okay.
Yeah.
And it was really difficult, and like you said, you kind of go through that transition of right, how can you help someone just tweak things to get to that point where they can have nice things, and they know they can have nice things.
I think
in the place they want to be.
One of the biggest things for me was I started using. Have you heard of Avatar Nutrition? I don't know if you've heard of those.
I don't think so.
Back in the day, it was something that Lane Norton helped co-found, and I've been a huge fan of that guy for years. And it's basically it's some software that you put all your details in: age, weight, height, activity levels, all that kind of stuff, and then it chooses your goal. Well, you can choose your goal, and then how quickly you want to get there. So, moderate, fast, and it tells you how to do it. And what it does is it adjusts your macros each week. So you might weigh in and it goes, right, okay, I think you need 2,800 calories. And if you lose too much weight, it'll jump them up, drop it down. Nice. It's quite smart. For me, I'm a pure numbers guy. So it works really, really, really well for me. And I kind of moved from this weird insulin model of obesity kind of thing where if you eat carbs, your insulin goes up, you store fat. Onto Avatar, and I knew the science, and this was like a really important coaching point for me to then get across to clients is I knew the science, and I knew that if I ate less than I burnt, I would lose weight or maintain weight or gain weight. But there was still an emotional thing there of sitting down and going, right, I'm having a big plate of pasta here. I know it's going to hit my calories, and I know I'm still going to be under my calories, and I'm fine, but you're still a bit, man, I'm not sure about it. And it's that emotional side of it. And it's like, I was there. I know where it is. So you know that you have to kind of slowly go in, and it kind of reinforced more so that it's not just the information. You can't just turn around to a client and session one and go, if you burn more than you consume, you lose weight. And they'll go, shit, right, okay, that's it. And then never have a problem again. So that transition, even for me, someone who's deep into that realm, was still emotionally charged one. So it only highlights what clients are really up against. If people like me and you are feeling it, then what are they feeling? The facts. That was a huge part of it.
Yeah. Well, I actually had a feeling like that, and I pointed it out this week because I went to see my friend Callum, who's a physio, because I finally decided, right, I'm going to get my shoulders sorted because they've been a mess for years.
Oh, yeah.
And so, obviously, we know exercises, but going in to do them with Callum, like going into the gym that he was working at and sitting on the bench and setting up for a Cuban press, I was like, right, pretty sure I know what this exercise is. But obviously me thinking I want to do it perfectly so that it gets the most benefit. I was sat there in this gym on the bench thinking like, am I doing this right? Am I turning everything properly? And I felt like quite, not panicked, but like a bit agitated in a way. And I thought to myself, just like you said there, like I've been a trainer for over 6 years,
Yeah.
and I'm feeling like this in my first physio session with Callum. So like, what the hell are clients thinking? And it kind of just gave me that insight of like, I kind of get it now when people say they're scared to go to the gym, because I was a bit apprehensive of what was happening, even though I've been a trainer for 6 years.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And yeah, it just reminded me of that. Then as you were talking through that, like obviously we can get those same kind of thoughts and ideas. And so of course, someone who's like right in the shit is going to feel that as well. And it's totally okay. It's totally fine to feel that way as long as you don't let it stop you doing stuff.
It's how you magnify it as well. And, there's always going to be areas of our life that we're not as good as. I think it's a weird one because we spend our time in like a personal development realm. We're in a gym where it's an area that we're very, very confident in.
Yeah.
And over Christmas and things like that, I was around my uncle who's a financial investor and financial advisor, sorry. And he starts banging on about investments and all this stuff. And I'll just go quiet. Like, I don't know. I'll absorb the information, but I think it's a funny one where I probably do what the clients do in that situation.
Yeah.
They're doing in our gym, because it's like, I don't know what they're talking about. People start banging on about football and things like that. I have no idea about football or stuff like that.
Same.
But yeah, the investments and stuff like that, I'm like, man, I really should know more about this. But it is so confusing. You look into it and you're like, who am I to believe? And if you can draw those parallels in your life, then you can relate it back to how clients feel. There's always going to be areas in people's lives where they get frustrated, and it's like, yeah, okay, but you're running a multi-million pound company. Do you know what I mean? You're killing it in this area, I'm killing it in this area. Let's help each other out.
Yeah.
You are excelling in certain areas, and everyone's going to have that blind spot. It's like was it like the 4 burner theory or something, where you can only have 3 on at a time, and something's going to drop. That's
I don't know. I've not heard of that.
Yeah, so like you've got example he uses like family, business, working out, and then I don't know, partying, for example. You can only get 3 of those at a high level at once. You can't have all 4 because you've only got so much gas. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But I think if you understand your own blind spots and you're willing to kind of put yourself out there a little bit, then it's easier to kind of empathize and relate with clients and go, yeah, I get it. I get what you feel like. And, if you were a little bit more arrogant, you would have just gone, yeah, this is the press, bang, I'm doing it. And just kind of shut those feelings down. But you need to lean into that a little bit, don't you? And go, oh, okay, this is going to, I get what that feels like. Here's how we're going to do it.
Yeah, right. We'll start wrapping up, but just before we do, is there anything basically that you want to go over? Like anything you've been thinking, I wish you'd asked me about this, or that would have been a good question to go over?
I think the main thing I want to kind of get across to people is everyone knows it, but no one really does it, is just finding out what works for you. Like the self-experimentation thing. I think one of the biggest things you've said there is like, try it out and see if it works before you're so ready to say, I can't do that, And that's what's led me to kind of train the way I train, eat the way I eat. And people say, what do you do to do X? And I'm like, don't worry about me. I've got me covered. Like, let's worry about you. But yeah, it's just that individuality. And I know that sounds really simple, but I think the simplest things are the ones that are most easily overlooked because they don't sound overly sexy, do they? But no, I think that's all good, man. I've had a blast.
All right, winner. So yeah, just before we finish it off then, where can people go to find you? Whether that's the gym itself or like how to get in contact?
Yeah, so I operate out of Total Fitness Wakefield. Anyone in that area is more than welcome to come down. And I've toyed around with social media. I'll go all in on certain things and then in and out and stuff like that. But the main one is probably Instagram for me.
Yeah.
Primarily because you can just push everything else out to other platforms.
Yeah.
So I've got Liam Cowley _nutrition on Instagram, and then the only other thing is as well, I actually do my own podcast,
Okay,
which is just the Liam Cowley podcast. Those two main things are going to be the main focus because I can talk and chat about health and nutrition all day. So that's why I thought a podcast would be a good one for me.
All right, sounds cool. Well, I'll put links to all them in the description. I'll even put one for for the gym as well if people are local.
Yeah.
But apart from that,
Appreciate that.
being on, man.
No, it's been good. Good to catch up.